Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and this one is about killers that never got caught. And it sucks because, like I said, they never actually got caught. They got away with it. They never actually paid for the crimes that they committed. And they did really evil things. Anyways, I'll see you at the end of the video. Probably the most infamous serial killer in British history, Jack the Ripper stabbed and mutilated 5 prostitutes during the autumn of 1888 in the Whitechapel area of London. He often removed the organs of his victims, leading police to believe he had anatomical knowledge. His actual identity has been the subject of furious speculation, with some claiming he was a prominent doctor, that he was performing a Masonic ritual, or even that he was a member of the royal family. Jack the Ripper's murder suddenly stopped in the fall of 1888, but London citizens continued to demand answers that would not come. Even more than a century later, the ongoing case, which has spawned an industry of books, films, TV series, and historical tours, has met with a number of hindrances, including lack of evidence, a gamut of misinformation, and false testimony, and tight regulations by the Scotland Yard. Jack the Ripper has been the topic of news stories for more than 120 years, and will likely continue to be for decades to come.
Over 3 months, 5 women were brutally slain, their bodies hideously mutilated. The killer, known only as Jack the Ripper, has evaded detection for over 120 years.
The Moonlight murders took place in 1946 in Texarkana, a small town between Texas and Arkansas, where a serial killer would shoot teenage lovers and one older married couple. The small town went into a panic, employing the help of the Texas Rangers, but no one was ever convicted of the 5 murders and several assaults. Often referred to as the Phantom, some witnesses claimed the killer wore a white mask, or sack, with holes. It all began on the night of February 22, 1946, when Jimmy Hollis, 24, and his girlfriend Mary, 19, were parked in a secluded corner on a lonely road just off of Richmond Road in Texarkana. The young couple had spent the evening at the cinema and decided they would stop down the Lover's Lane for some alone time before Jimmy dropped Mary back home. Out of the darkness, a man wearing a white cloth mask, presumably a pillowcase with eye holes, appeared at the car window and shone a flashlight into their eyes. Over the ensuing years, hundreds of people were questioned and numerous suspects were interrogated. Thousands of clues have been followed, yet all led to a dead end. Despite the extensive investigation into the murders, the elusive figure that made Texarkana dread sundown still remains unidentified. Who is the Zodiac Killer, and how many victims were there? The Zodiac Killer was the nickname of a serial murderer who may have killed dozens of young men and women in Northern California in the late 1960s and early 70s. He is known to have targeted at least 7 victims, 3 couples, and a lone taxi driver. 2 of them survived gun and knife ambushes. The same killer has been linked to as many as 28 murders, and he claimed to have killed 37 people in letters to newspapers. The Zodiac name was used by the killer himself in taunting letters he sent to reporters, using a cross inside his circle as his signature, the same logo he scrawled on one victim's car. He also sent a series of cryptograms, a type of puzzle using encoded text, only one of which has been deciphered. Part of it reads, "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all." Other letters included swatches of a shirt cut off a victim as proof he was the killer, His final letter to a newspaper was in 1974. He praised the film The Exorcist as the best satirical comedy that I've ever seen, and signed off with a supposed score against the San Francisco police. Me equals 37, San Francisco PD equals 0. Robert Domingos and his fiancée Linda Edwards were seniors at Lompoc High School in Santa Barbara County in Southern California. On Tuesday in early June 1963, the couple decided to use the senior ditch day to go sunbathing on a beach near Gaviota State Park. When the two teenagers didn't return home by Wednesday, Robert's father went to the beach and was horrified to discover their bodies lying together inside of the remains of a crumbling shack. The victims, bound with rope, had apparently tried to escape, but were shot and killed with a .22 caliber weapon. Robert was shot 11 times, and Linda had been shot 9 times. The killer then dragged the bodies to the shack, where he tried and failed to start a fire. 18-year-old Cheri Josephine Bates lived with her father Joseph and was a student at Riverside City College in Riverside, California. On October 30, 1966, she left a note that read, "Dad went to the RCC library." The next morning, her Volkswagen Beetle was found abandoned in the library parking lot, and her body was lying nearby between 2 houses. She had been stabbed several times, and her throat was slashed. Police found a men's Timex watch at the crime scene, a print from a military boot, and some hairs and dried blood on the victim's hand. Cheri Jo's purse was intact, and an autopsy revealed no evidence of sexual assault. Five nights before Christmas, high school students Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday set out on the first official date together, promising Betty Lou's parents they'd be home by 11 p.m. Shortly after that time, passing motorists saw the Rambler and its occupants parked at a lover's lane spot along Lake Herman Road in Benicia, California. Moments later, another driver noticed 2 seemingly lifeless bodies on the side of the road. Benicia police and others responded to the scene and discovered Betty Lou dead with 5 bullet wounds in her back. David was found next to the Rambler with a bullet wound in his head, still breathing but near death. "22-year-old Darlene Farron was a wife, mother, and a popular waitress at a Vallejo restaurant. On the night of July 4, she picked up friend Michael and stepped her Corvair in the parking lot of Blue Rock Springs Park. Michael later told police that another vehicle pulled into the lot around midnight and then left only to return minutes later. The driver got out of the car, shined a bright light, and fired into the Corvair with a 9mm handgun. Michael was shot in the jaw, shoulder, and leg. Darlene was hit several times. At 12:40 p.m., in a call later traced to a gas station payphone, a man rang the Vallejo Police Department and claimed responsibility for the shooting as well as the murders on Lake Herman Road. According to the police dispatcher, the caller spoke in a low, monotonous voice, saying, "I want to report a murder. If you will go 1 mile east on Columbus Parkway, you will find kids in a brown car that were shot with a 9mm Luger. I also killed those kids last year. Goodbye." Darlene died on arrival at the hospital, but Michael survived. Investigators were unable to identify any vital suspects. That is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Give it a like if you did, and or subscribe. See ya!